freedom of speech to all people. And we can say in our country, mostly, we can see this lack of speech.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed. Okay, what about you, Amy?
Thank you.
Amy?
Yeah.
Okay, would you please start?
Yes. Okay. I think it's a familiar photo. And first, I should tell something as an introduction. There is a declaration made over 200 years ago in the United States of America. It said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all humans are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." I believe this photo is one of the most important photos in contemporary history of Iran. Here we see the protesters for Mahsa Amini's death in custody, standing bravely in front of the group of suppressors of a dictatorship and somehow totalitarian regime. What caught my eye is that people with bare hands stood in front of an armed to the teeth military group, and we can clearly see a line between them. And this line isn't only between the people and the government, but also the abyss that emerged almost 45 years ago between two generations and two lifestyles. That's it's a brief description.
Thank you very much. That was really impressive. I really enjoyed that one. But you just said that they are all created equal. You need an adverb there, equally, right?
No, I think it's all men are created equal.
So you need an adverb, not an adjective.
But in the declaration wrote equal.
In order to put emphasis, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but grammatically is wrong, right? Yeah. Thank you. That was really, let's say, stunning. Guys, let us get back to our business about the writing thing. As you can see here, we have a sample writing. Read this sample answer and decide whether the content is relevant to the task, then underline any inconsistencies in style that you notice. So, guys, as I mentioned, this is going to be a very formal and academic, let's say, essay that you are going to present to a journal, right? In that case, read this. Okay, you have 2 minutes to flick through the text and tell me whether the sample answer is relevant to the task. This is one question. And secondly, you need to underline the inconsistencies, the flaws that you can find when it comes to academic writing. Okay, I have it here on the board. Hang on to your rights. Just flick through the text very quickly and decide.
I don't know what should I do.
I told you, just first decide the language is proper or not. If not, underline the inconsistencies, okay?
Okay.
You may see some informal words that are not appropriate when it comes to formal piece of writing.
Yes,
exactly.
prevalence.
And secondly, there are some ideas presented in this context. You need to say that whether these ideas are relevant to the task or irrelevant. For example, the title is Hang On to Your Rights, right? It must be about technologies and, let's say, freedom. If you can find something that is not related to these two categories, then you can say that this piece of writing is not relevant to the task.
Wouldn't a better name would be hang
Of
on
course,
right?
this is one of the problems. Even the title is problematic. Hang on to
Oh,
your rights. The word and the phrasal verb hang on is absolutely informal.
Yes.
So
oh,
this is
honestly,
not a proper.
hang
This
on right would have been a way better
Yeah.
title.
So no. Wait is not again appropriate here, but so the title has problem here. What about the ideas? Just check the paragraphs and tell me whether the information is relevant to the task or not. Do we have any irrelevant paragraphs or not? Baran, can you see any irrelevant paragraphs to the topic?
Till now, not a minute.
What about you, Ali? What do you think?
I don't think any.
Exactly. So the context is absolutely relevant. So the type of information you are provided with is completely relevant, of course. But the problem is that the language sometimes right? Digresses to the desert, huh? Because
Yes,
you are
becomes informal.
writing a formal essay, but you can see there are many problems. Now, together, we are going to, let's say, detect the problems one by one, point them out, and try to find a better alteration for them. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Not really.
So, as I mentioned, let us start with the title. Has it used the proper language or a word choice? No.
Nope.
What are the other problems? Are all the provided content relevant? Of course, they are relevant.
Yes.
So, look here. All content is relevant to the task, but have you found these inconsistencies? Use of an informal phrases like the chatty tune, like hang on. Certain phrasal verbs are appropriate. For example, in paragraph 1, it says weigh up something. Weigh up means evaluate. You know, your book says that weigh up is a good choice, but in my opinion, I don't like it. I think evaluate is far better than weigh up. So your book says that way up is a good thing, but in my point of view, I have done it differently, and you choose. After this session, you can choose whether, uh, let's say,
Assess or evaluate.
yeah, you can assess or
But
evaluate. Way up, of course, it is formal, but it's not a good choice in my opinion. And I have also asked many people, guys, please wait.
How is he supposed to change the title? Genius.
امروز چرا از 6 به بعد بیاد؟ چون میخوای بریم
Hang
برداری.
on to die, right? What?
نه بهش بگو. بهش بگو. من ست کردم بهش گفتم ساعت 3 میاد. خانم چیزم هست ویدیو بهش بگیم. Okay guys, sorry.
A question. I'm still thinking about the title. Like, what was
I
it?
will tell you. Just wait. Let us one by one. You know, as you saw the text, you saw some signs of informal contributions, like help something out. This is not good at all. And also several instances of I think. Can you say I think in a formal writing? Of course not. Of course not. And you can see this a lot of times here. Inappropriate informal use. You rewrite these parts in exercise 4. Really that great? The word great is informal, guys. Kids, informal. Plus, informal. Downside, informal. 24/7, informal again.
it is informal.
Downside is informal. Of course, when you search, when you go in search in dictionaries and when we search websites, they tell you that downside is formal. But when it comes to academic pieces of writing, you cannot use the word downside. Of course, it is formal, of course, but there are better choices. And also the internet gives us the ability, this is not good, help us out. I told you the big snag. You know snag? Guys, snag means
catch it, grabbing something.
no,
Like,
a snag means a difficulty or a flaw, right?
what?
A snag means, let's say, a plight. Do you know plight?
Oh, really?
Plight is the formal. I mean, do you remember back in the day that we had a reading of IELTS and the sentence started the plight of something? Plight is the formal word for a snag. A snag means a difficulty or a flaw. It means, let's say,
Disadvantage.
مخمسه, let's say a difficulty, right? Something like that. In this context, a snag is the plight. So the appropriate alteration would be plight, not the word snag. So the text is going to tell you the biggest snag or the biggest problem. So instead you can talk about plight rather than snag. A snag is absolutely informal. Don't use it. Now, before, let's say, addressing the context paragraph by paragraph, let us do this task 3 together. Tick the boxes that apply to the sample answer. Complex ideas are communicated convincingly. Style is consistently appropriate for the readership. Text is a well-organized, coherent whole. Errors only occur in less common words and may be slips. Grammatical forms lack control and complexity. Choice of vocabulary generally shows sophistication and precision. Baran, what do you think? Which box would you tick?
I forgot the text. Damn.
The first
Would you
one,
please read the text?
Absolutely the first one.
The first one? Complex
Absolutely
ideas.
the first one.
I'm not sure. Ali, what do you think?
No, it's not the first one.
It wouldn't be any of them, but it could be maybe the first one is more likely than the other ones.
Actually, you can't see any complex ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't.
But the rest is also like, it could not be any of 2 to 6.
Can we say like it's
I mean-
well organized?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It is well organized.
Yeah.
Coherent.
Doesn't happen.
Yes, a coherent.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, coherent whole. But
What
I
about
believe
errors?
the first
What
one
about
is
errors? Can you see any errors, or errors occur in less common words and maybe slips?
Like error
Coherent
how?
in less common words.
Exactly, this is true. I will tick this one because errors in this context have occurred like slips. Slips are those errors that you know them if you go back to them. It is only out of, let's say, being careless, right? Because you know them. They are all slips. When you see the type of the language that the person has provided here, you can surely say that this guy is sophisticated, but these small errors that you can see are slips.
So the last one, we should pick the last one, yes?
No, let's see the answers. Slips, box 4, are very minor, unintentional mistakes. To achieve a band 3 or above for language and Cambridge English proficiency, you will have to show a high level of accuracy. Tick the boxes. Boxes that apply. Complex ideas are communicated convincingly. Text is well organized, as you mentioned, coherent whole. Errors only occur. So the first one was also true, but in my opinion, it was not complex. But based on the book, it says that some complex ideas are communicated convincingly. I don't agree with this. Errors only occur in a less, as I mentioned, and maybe slips. Choice of vocabulary generally shows sophistication and precision. Yes, I really agree with this one. The choice of the vocabulary, I really enjoyed the word choice that the guy has chosen. Look here, guys. Now, let us put it into practice. Now, can you rewrite the first paragraph into a more formal way? Before that, what is the best alternative for the title? I will tell you. Is this a proper alteration? Preserving individual rights. What do you think? This is my own point of view for the title. Your book has a different viewpoint, which is completely different from me. If I were to write it, I would write it like preserving individual rights. Do you have any?
Preserve means maintain or
Yeah.
to save something.
To save,
Yes,
yeah.
but it's the writing is about somehow the position of something, the role of internet in our.
No, I only, let's say, changed the same title that the writer had presented. I only changed that. He said, hang on to your rights. I said, preserving individual rights is better. But you are saying something different. You are saying that the text is about a different thing, right?
But you're right. I cannot blame you for, excuse me, for using blame you for using preserving, because it's completely true. But I'm looking for an alternative choice.
So what is your point of view? What would
I-
be the most appropriate title for this context?
Please just keep me misunderstanding.
If you read the text completely, you can see that the theme, the gist of the text is all about individual rights. Of course, it is talking about mobile communication technology and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
Right.
at the end, they are concluding the fact that individual rights are to be preserved. It could be through technology, it could be through other things, right? So, guys, I need you to rewrite this paragraph. First, underline the problems. What is the problem here in this paragraph 1? The word great, right? Outcomes are really that great.
Where is
This
it?
tone is
Oh, yeah.
informal. This tone is informal. What about prevalence? Is it formal? Prevalence, it is
Yes.
okay,
Yeah.
right?
Can you say
Devices together.
outcome are really that great and they are advantageous?
Or yes, instead of great, you can say advantages. Of course. So is this the only change that you are going to make? What about others?
Can we use instead of great like impeccable, flawless, kind of like
Instead of
great?
great?
Does it
Yes,
mean, like,
of course.
yeah.
So is this the only change that you are going to make? You think that the only problem of first paragraph is the word great? Yeah, that's the most egregious problem of this text, but I have made some other changes. Look here. What do you think of this? The widespread use of mobile communication devices in conjunction with the widespread use of social networking and the internet has fundamentally altered our way of life. This article evaluates the impact of these technologies on individual freedom and assesses whether the outcomes are significantly beneficial. Which one is better in your opinion?
This one, in my opinion.
Ali, what do you
Yours.
think?
I think the edited one is better, I guess.
But there is again a problem in my paragraph. Can you find out? Can you point out the problem here? The repetition of the word widespread, guys.
Is it bad?
Yeah. In writing, specifically formal writing, try not to use any repetitive words as much as possible. You will be deducted by marks. So this is not good to say the widespread use of. The prevalence is better. The prevalence use of mobile communication devices in conjunction with the widespread use of social networking in this way, it is far better. And then you can see that at the end, I have mentioned that freedom and assesses whether the outcomes are significantly beneficial, to use an adverb before the adjective. So I will need you to do the same for the second paragraph, guys. Now, do the same thing for this. Can you rewrite?
Okay.
Yeah. I think the big plus with the smartphones, this is something you can use it in speaking, not writing. In writing, you cannot say big plus. Smartphones and tablets in that
I think an
phrase,
advantage with smartphones.
it could be yes, family are always contactable. Parents need not be concerned for the welfare of their teenage children. Of course, need not be considered as formal, but I think we can change it to a better one. As they can keep track of them, this may be beneficial to the older generation, but I think it imposes unfair limits on the liberty of their kids. Kids?
Kids, no. You should change. It's informal.
Children.
Of
Children.
Other
course.
children.
Children, yes. It's not good to say kids. And the downside of mobile devices from the working adults
Disadvantage.
Instead of
standpoint.
big plus, what did you use instead of big plus?
No, a big flaw? No.
Big
This,
plus.
no, again, this
What
is
did you use instead of big plus?
instead of what? Big flaws?
The big plus.
Advantage. You can say advantage.
Significant advantage or major benefit.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
a major
Yeah.
benefit. Guys, a standpoint. What is the meaning of a standpoint?
Viewpoint.
Yes, that's the formal version of viewpoint, is that they can be read 24/7. Is it okay to use 24/7 in writing?
No.
Of course no.
It's informal.
And the distinction between work and home life becomes blurred. Blurred is also formal, but if I am to write, I'm gonna write it differently. This again places constraints upon the individual. Not bad, I enjoyed that one. Who has fewer opportunities to shut out the streets. Shut out? Shut out means to, let's say, to fade away, to gradually decrease the level of something. But this is informal, guys. You cannot use the word shut out in writing. The
Can
stress
we
of everything.
say, instead of blur, can we say obscure?
Exactly. That was my own choice, yes. Obscured, yeah. Thank you. So, guys, can you rewrite this?
No.
What do you think? Instead of I think, the plus point, you can say a significant advantage, right?
Yeah.
Instead of always contactable, of course it is formal. But I think there is a better one that you can say always accessible, right? Of course,
Yeah.
contactable is formal, guys, but accessible is better than contactable. Parents need not, of course it is informal, it is formal, but it's better to say may not need. Do you agree?
Need not is formal.
Need not is formal, but you know, I mean, needn't is informal, but need not is
okay.
kind of formal, but again, it's not appropriate to use need not. It's better to say
Why?
may not, because I know this is
Formality, I think, may not
because
need.
when you use may, it rises the formality of your writing, and you don't need to say need not. You can ask native speakers. They don't like to use need not in writing in this case. When it comes to journals and let's say academic essays, they never use it need not. Of course, but this is formal, no problem, but it's better. It's better to use may not. The welfare of their teenage children's welfare, right?
Yes.
As they can keep track of them due to the ability to monitor their whereabouts. You see, this is much more advanced than to say to keep track of something. Of course, keep track is formal. There is no problem with that, guys. But in order to improve your writing, you can say the ability to monitor the whereabouts. But I think it imposes. However, it imposes. Isn't it better?
Yes.
Unfair limits, unjust or unreasonable restrictions. Of course, unfair limits is fine, no problem with that, but it's better to use unjust or unreasonable restrictions rather than unfair limits, because the word limit, in my opinion, is not formal and it's not appropriate to use limit. If it was limitations, it was better, but limits,
It's a general term.
yeah, of course, but it's not appropriate when it comes to academic journals, you know?
Restrictions is
Yeah. I don't know whether you have read an academic journal or not. The language is so much sophisticated and they try not to use any neutral or informal words like limits or unfair. You know, unfair is more commonly used in speaking, not in writing. Of course, it is formal and dictionaries tell you that it is okay to use. But when it comes to journals and academic journals, I think it's better to use restrictions and unreasonable or unjust rather than unfair. So, the downside, you can say, is significant disadvantage. Do you agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
Reached 24/7, you can say expected to be available around the clock. Isn't it better?
Yeah.
From the work,
available
yeah, or you can say it is expected to be available all the time
all the time. Yes.
or around the clock. Around the clock is an idiom and it's the same thing, no problem with that. From the working adults standpoint, for working adults. But again, this one, no problem. From the working adults standpoint is also acceptable and formal, no problem with that. This is only my own point of view that if I were to write, I would write it like for working adults. I don't need to say for a standpoint or something like that. Because I think it's going to be turned out like mechanical, like a robot, you know. It's not natural to write in that way. Becomes blurred, as Abshahi mentioned, we can say obscure. Who has fewer, you can say leading to diminished opportunities to disengage from the stress, right? Isn't it better? For fewer opportunities to shut down the stress of everyday life, I would say that leading to diminished opportunities to disengage from the stress.
Shut down definitely is informal.
Exactly, definitely. And you cannot use that word shut out in writing, of course. What about the next paragraph, guys? At the same time, the internet gives us the ability to control our lives, right? From
This is right.
booking a holiday to selecting a new home, everything can be done direct without any middleman. You know, middleman? Like a broker or something. Someone in between, right? Restricting what is an offer. So that is an example of greater freedom, the freedom of choice. As for social networking, the chance to share ideas and communicate more effectively means that nobody needs or nobody need, guys.
Nobody needs.
That's the same problem that I mentioned, guys. When you look at the style of writing, the word choice, grammar, and everything, you are sure that this guy is knowledgeable. So when it comes to proofreaders, when they see that nobody need, they don't deduct marks here. You know, they have mercy on the rider, because of course it is clear that the rider, this is a sleep, right? It's not an error. If you ask the person to read it for himself, he's going to correct himself, right? So you see, in
Yeah.
writing of IELTS, if you have the sleeps like one or two, they are going to turn a blind on them, don't worry. And nobody needs feel alone or to feel alone in the modern world. Two. Nobody needs to feel alone in the modern world. Furthermore, the role played by social media is disseminating information. What is the meaning of disseminating, Mr. Amin?
I don't know.
Baran, do you know?
Let me-
No.
Ali? Ilya, what do you think? Disseminating?
No idea.
You have no idea of disseminating?
I know discriminating, if that's.
Yeah, you can guess from the text. The role played by social media is disseminating information under less tolerant political regime.
Publishing or like
Is it a negative word or a positive word?
Negative,
Of course.
because of this.
Because of?
This.
Because of this.
This,
Baran said
DIS, I
publishing.
mean.
You know, Baran said publishing is somehow close to publishing, but disseminating means to, let's say, to spread the idea to as many as people as you can. But
Yes, that's correct.
yeah, but when you look at the word, it looks like a negative word, like, right? Disseminating, but it's not negative at all. Means to spread the idea.
Broadcast. Yeah.
Yes, to broadcast, yeah, information under less tolerant political regimes. Shows. Is the word show appropriate in academic writing? Of course
we
not.
can say represent. Or
Again, this one, if you check dictionaries, they tell you that show is informal, but I'm telling you it's not. You can say depict, you can say illustrate, you can say represents, you can say
Demonstrate.
demonstrates, yeah. How networking sites can be used to help us out? This is a macro disaster. This is the most, let's say, informal word you can find in this whole essay. Help us out. Contributing to profound social changes. How can we change it, guys?
Like,
At the same
Provide us
time,
with
for
assistance.
at the same time, can we say concurrently, extemporaneously?
Simultaneously, I think.
Guys, at the same time is not informal. It is perfectly true to use at the same time. But I'm saying that in order to improve it like an advanced way, you can say concurrently or extemporaneously. Extemporaneously, I think is the most formal word for this.
Instead of help us out,
I will
can
tell
we
you.
say assist us
Exactly.
or provide us with assistance.
Exactly.
Which one?
Exactly. The internet gives us the ability, you can say the internet empowers us to manage our lives, right? To
Provide
control, yes, to control our lives, you can say to manage. Right from booking a holiday, you can say from booking a vacation, everything can be done. Do you know why? Because holiday in British is different from in America, right?
yes.
So holiday in British English, it is both the time that you take some time off to enjoy, or the international or the national holiday. They are both the same thing. But in the US, vacation is something that you take a day off to enjoy, and holiday is only the official days off in the calendar, right? Everything can be done direct. Everything can be done without intermediaries. What is an offer? The available options. So that is an example of a greater freedom. You can say this illustrates an enhanced form of freedom, right?
Yeah.
As for the social networking, you can say regarding social networking. The chance to share ideas, the opportunity to exchange ideas. Isn't it better? Means that nobody need feel alone, implies that individuals need not feel isolated or may not feel isolated. Right? Both are correct. In the modern world, you can say in contemporary society.
Can we say in contemporary era?
Era, yes. No, why not?
Okay.
Under less tolerant political regimes, you can say within restrictive political environments. Show how, you can say, demonstrates how these platforms can benefit society, right? And instead of help us out, you can say demonstrates how these platforms can benefit society.
Jesus Christ.
Guys, look here. However, I think the biggest snag, again, this is really disastrous to use a snag. This is really informal. However, I think you can say, in my perspective, the biggest snag, you can say the primary challenge or the plight, the primary plight. Plight is more
book, instead of in my perspective, in my book. Can we say in my book?
In my book is also possible, yes. An inevitable erosion. What is erosion, guys? Erosion means something when something gradually fades away. Like in Farsi we say farsayesh, right? That is erosion. So an inevitable erosion, it is formal, but it is better to say a relentless deterioration of privacy. Isn't it better?
Please do not omit inevitable. I love this word.
No.
Inevitable.
Inevitable is perfectly fine, no problem with that. But I'm just showing you that there are other ways that you can say relentless deterioration of privacy based on the context. People seem happy to, individuals appear content with, or it appears that people are willing to.
Can we say pleased?
Yes. They can say, you can say people seem more pleased. Of course, why not? Yeah. In a way that would have been unheard of it, in a manner that would have been unprecedented in the previous century.
Unprecedented.
Yeah, unprecedented in the previous century. But at what cost? It is formal. However, one question دیگه خیلی طولانیش کرده. At what cost? You just say at what cost. When you say but at what cost, however, one question, I think this is not appropriate. This is more speaking like, right?
Yes.
But instead of the whole sentence, you can simply say at what cost. And guys, look here, rewrite the parts of the answer you underline in 2 using these words and phrases to help you correct any slips and decide on a more suitable title. So, look at the first one, paragraph 1. What is the best alteration for... What is the first word? Unequivocally. Unequivocally means clearly. Advantages. Instead of which phrase or word can you use this one?
Can you see like the outcomes are really that great?
Yes. Yes. What about the second one? Guys, this is where I have problem with your book. Your book says it's better to use offspring instead of children. بچه offspring بچه حیوانات رو میگن. Not humans. You know, I'm going to check this with some, let's say, highly educated people, but I am, let's say, 100% sure that we cannot use offspring for children. Of course, based on the dictionaries, we can use offspring for human children, but humorously. یعنی اگه به یکی بگی آفسپرینگ تو مثلا، یعنی این طول سگتو جمع کن، از صبح داشته مثلا اینجا، واقعا اینجوری میشه. من نمیدونم چرا گفته مثلا آفسپرینگ، چون آفسپرینگ دقیقا میشه این طوله. مثلا اگه به طولتو جمع کن، خیلی سر صدا میکرده اینجا. So offspring is used for animal children, and if you use it for people, I think this is really, let's say, insultive. I don't agree. I don't agree with your book here, because your book says to use offspring. You can go in search of it. You can check all the dictionaries. All dictionaries say that it's not appropriate to use offspring for humans' children. And I have seen this, that many Iranians have used this in IELTS writing, and they are all deducted by marks, because offspring is for animals, not for people. If you use it for people, it means, yeah, let's say it's a kind of sarcasm, you know. One drawback at all times, it is undeniable that for the greater good, the adverse impact, I really like this one. The adverse impact for the greater good, undeniable.
One drawback, downside.
One drawback, the downside, yes.
Okay.
Guys, now rate. ببینید حالا این چیزی که کتاب نوشته با اون چیزی که من گفته بودم مقایسه کنید. کتابتون گفته اینجوری اوکیه. Rewritten answer. اولا تایتل گفته social media, the implications for personal liberty. The prevalence of mobile communication devices together with the widespread use of social networking and the internet have altered our way of life fundamentally. This article weighs up their impact on individual freedom and assesses whether the outcomes are unequivocally advantageous. Not bad. Arguably, the main asset of smartphones and tablets is that friends and family are always contactable. Parents need not be concerned for the welfare of their teenage children, as they can keep track of them. This may be beneficial to the older generation, but I think it imposes unfair limits on the liberty of their offspring. آزادی طوله‌هاشون. I don't agree with this. One drawback of mobile devices from the working adult's standpoint is that they can be reached at, you know, I'm sure that this type of writing, first of all, because of the use of offspring, it will be deducted by mark, and also with the way that the book has written, you cannot get more than 7 or 7.5. I'm sure in IELTS, if you write in this way, I'm sure you cannot get higher than 7.5, because he hasn't done anything, let's say, wonderful. Only some changes in some vocabularies using adverbs. And can you read the rest for yourself? What do you think? Yeah. However, the adverse impact, I really like this one. The adverse impact of all this is an inevitable erosion of privacy. This is really great. People seem happy to display. Seem happy. Guys, do you think using happy is appropriate? Of course not. I don't know why the book has provided this.
It's not bad, but we can use more
Euphoria.
sophisticated words.
Innermost thoughts and, let's say, aspirations. This is good. I really enjoyed the word aspirations. Guys, the verb is aspire, but the noun is aspiration. What is the meaning of aspiration? The wish to do something, right? When you deeply from your heart, when you want something, you aspire for that, right?
Desire, I think, the strong desire.
Exactly, a strong desire, yes. If I were to write, instead of unequivocally, I would write unambiguously. I don't like this one. If I were to write, I would use unambiguously instead of unequivocally. Advantages. Because I think it's somehow mechanical, like a robot. It's not human-like. Do you agree? You know, in IELTS, if you try to write like a robot, you are not going to get a good mark. It has to be natural, you know. in natural way, you will hear and see that native speakers use unambiguously. But have you ever seen unequivocally advantages? Even in books, have you seen it?
No.
I've seen unequivocally, but unequivocally advantages, I don't think.
No, no, I'm talking about the, let's say, collocation, unequivocally advantages, these two together. You know,
No.
I don't agree with this. The previous century, but at what cost? It is impossible to turn the clock back, yet it must be acknowledged that through social media, restrictions have been placed on individual freedom, which society at large may come to regret. Okay. What is the meaning of erode, guys? E-R-O-D-E, erode. It's the verb of erosion, right? As we discussed together, right?
Broke. Hold on.
Do you have any questions here?
Mostly on the words, a lot of words.
Yeah.
Good.
Is there anything that you don't know?
No.
I also like this
I mean,
one, profound.
promise.
The word profound is really interesting, contributing to profound social change. Yeah.
Deep.
Okay, let us continue.
Okay.
Look here, a good way of demonstrating sophistication in vocabulary selection is to draw on your knowledge of word families. Find words in article that are related to the verbs in A to H. These occur in text order. What is the meaning of prevail, guys? Have you ever heard prevail on someone as a phrasal verb? Have you ever heard?
No.
Prevail, guys, remember this. Remember this. This is really important. Prevail on someone is extremely formal.
I saw the prevail over.
No, over. You can also say
Over
prevail.
something, maybe.
Prevail over or on someone is extremely formal, and it means to persuade someone.
We
To
have
win over. To win over someone.
Okay.
And prevail means if a belief or something prevails, it exists among people for a long time, or you can say that it will succeed, or it will win something at the end. When something prevails, it means it will be dominated on it, right?
I mean that prevail. For example, to influence, to get control.
To take over something, yes, at the end,
Yes.
yes. Constrain is the verb of constraint, right? As we mentioned.
Yeah. Contact, contactable,
Yes.
beneficial,
Let us check the answers. Prevalence,
Prevalence, contactable, beneficial.
yeah, beneficial.
Okay.
Constraints, tolerance, erosion, aspirations, restrictions. Restrictions, right? For restrict. Okay, so good. Now, look at the word family for the verb tolerate, which is taken from the English vocabulary profile. All of these words are within the level of C2 learners. Check your understanding of the 5 words in italic by using them to complete sentences A to E. Intolerance, tolerance, tolerate, intolerable, intolerant, and tolerant. This is really, guys, helpful when you go over the family words of a vocabulary. It helps you improve your writing style when you know all the family words of a word, when you know the collocations, when you know the different part of a speech. This is going to significantly, let's say, level up your writing style. So, as an advanced learner, try your hardest to point out the family words, collocations. This is the time that you need to let's say, be more careful when it comes to part of a speech, collocations. If I were you, I would grab a book like Collocations in Use, Intermediate, and I would start reading it very carefully. Now, you have 5 minutes to complete A to E using the italic words, yeah.
Oh no.
In A, Ali, I have a question. Is this the word record or record? What is the pronunciation?
In A,
In A, line 2. A great track.
track record.
Is it record or record?
Record.
Record, because it is a
Noun.
noun. As a verb, the estrus is on the second syllable and we say record, right? Record, but the noun, record. Like progress, right? Entrepreneurship. Do you know the meaning of entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
Good. Steve Jobs is an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
Good entrepreneur.
His entrepreneurship led to a lot of job opportunities, right?
Wait, what can I not find? Oh, okay, I found it.
I don't, but I have problem with juvenile here.
Juvenile?
Yes, juvenile in part B.
Why? What is the problem with juvenile?
I don't get the meaning of juvenile here.
Juveniles means teenagers, young
Yes.
adults.
Oh, okay, I know that, but what's the...
The researchers give some possible reasons for the decline in juvenile violence. It means to how to decrease the violence in young adults.
Okay.
What about polarize, guys, in B? What is the meaning of polarize? Polarize means...
Polarity, for example.
Polarize is the British form. In America,
Control?
we use
Something like
Z. No, polarize means to divide something into two groups of opposers and opponents. Did you get it?
Yes.
It comes from pole.
Exactly, to make two poles, two different
Yeah.
poles, yeah. When you polarize views, it means you have two different positive and negative poles.
Excuse me, you tell us that polarize is using mostly in British English?
No. I said polarize with the spelling of S is British, and in American English they use Z, not S. Like emphasize.
Yeah. I get it.
I just talked about the spelling, not the use in British or American. Yeah.
Okay, I finished.
Thank you. What about the others? Are you done?
Yeah.
I mean, when you say I'm finished, it means you're dead, and now you're in a different.
Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, you're done.
I'm dead too, but now I'm done.
God nakone, God nakone.
No, but I have the ability to resurrect.
So, A, who can help me with A?
Tolerant?
Ilya, you say.
No.
Canada has a very
Tolerant and inclusive attitude to incomers and a great track record of entrepreneurship.
Baron UB.
The issue of same-sex marriage still has the power to polarize views, and what is remarkable in this battle is how deeply each side feels itself a victim of the other's intolerance.
Okay. C, Ali. Ali.
I was muted, sorry. Sometimes if a situation is intolerant, walking away is the only way to cool things down.
I mean D.
The researchers give some possible reasons for the decline in juvenile violence, such as the growth of community policing, less cultural tolerance of violence, and more aggressive policies to regulate firearms.
The nation is somewhat unfairly portrayed as an inward-looking society that is manifestly
Intolerant.
intolerant of minorities. Let us check the answers. Were you right about your answers?
I think so.
Yes.
Good. Now, read the exam task and use the mind map to help you plan your ideas. Then write an article of 280, 320 words. This is your, let's say, guys, your assignment for next session.
Okay.
You need to do this. An international research body is publishing a book entitled Freedom in Modern Society and has asked for contributions from around the world. You decide to submit an article for the book. You should describe the current situation in your country with regard to education, employment, and family life, and explain what aspects of freedom an individual has the right to expect. You should also evaluate whether there are too many limits on personal freedom nowadays. Write your article. You can see that on the map, it has been presented that you have the equal rights on the left, and on the right top you have the law, personal freedom in the middle, and more surveillance and the tolerance on the right. So what is more surveillance?
Careful.
More monitoring or observation, right?
Can we say more careful? I want careful or watching. Yes, monitoring.
More careful or more care. You can say monitoring, yeah. More monitoring and observation, you can say. So, I'm going to show you an example, but you have to do your own way for next session, and please send it. This is an example sample answer. The position of the individual within contemporary society. Ilya, would you please read the text for me?
Yes, sure. Just give me a second. Okay. The position of the individual within contemporary society. How much freedom do we have in modern society? In some ways, we enjoy far more freedom than previous generations, but in other ways, we most definitely do not. Wait, what? Okay. This article considers both aspects of this question. Nowadays, the individual has a strong entitlement to protection under the law, especially in relation to gender and race. Equal rights of this kind seem fundamental to personal freedom. Men and women should earn the same rates of pay for the same job. whatever their age, and people of different ethnic backgrounds should be able to attend the school of their choice. However, at the same time, it cannot be denied that some constraints must be placed on the individual if a society
That's
is to function
constraints.
properly.
It's not con, it's constraints.
Sorry. Constraints must be placed on the individual if a society is to function properly, and these limits are generally enshrined in law. Model citizens recognize that they must abide by the law in order to protect the weak and vulnerable members of their society, whereas lawless states lack the proper safeguards for these individuals.
In a civilized
In a civil society, tolerance of others allows free speech and religious freedom. It is vital for individuals to be able to state their beliefs and political views without fear of reprisal. Is that correct?
reprisal.
Reprisal, yeah.
I don't know the
Similarly,
meaning. Let us check it. That's reprisal. Reprisal, something violent or harmful which you do to punish someone for something bad they have done. That's the retaliation, guys. The revenge. Reprisal. And reprisal, yeah, I think the word retaliation is better to use than reprisal. Similarly, everyone, without fear of reprisal, بدون ترس انتقام. Similarly, everyone should be able to dress as they wish rather than being attacked for their appearance. Being attacked, guys, I don't like this piece of writing at all, because the text is using sophisticated vocabularies in one hand, and on the other hand using a lot of informal and inappropriate language. However, there are many limits to personal freedom, not least due to the huge amount of data that exists about us online these days, from our shopping habits to our relationships. Furthermore, in many modern societies, children have less freedom to play unsupervised than in the past, and CCTV cameras are everywhere. This undoubtedly affects, everybody's freedom in one way, thought it undeniably protects us at the same time. In contemporary society, we all carry the notion that we are free, but in reality, this isn't always the case. Although 21st century citizens would probably not want to return to a pre-digital age, the constraints imposed on them are inevitably greater nowadays, largely thanks to the ubiquity of technology. I don't agree. If I was the proofreader, I would give 6 to this piece of writing, you know? As you can see, how much freedom do we have in modern society? In some ways, we enjoy far more freedom than previous generations, but in other ways, we most definitely do not. This article considers both aspects of the question. As you probably know, nowadays in iOS, you can't do this at all. You cannot put this, let's say, a statement at the end of your first paragraph that says this article is going to address this thing or that thing. This is, as I mentioned, mechanical, robot-like. Don't do this ever. And in order to gain higher marks in IELTS, you need to and you need to, let's say, convey your opinion in an indirect way. So when I read your introduction paragraph, indirectly I need to come to this conclusion that you agree or you disagree with something. Not directly like this, that you mentioned that in this article I'm going to do this or do that. This used to work like 2012 or 20 years ago, but not now. Nowadays, you cannot do this. This way of writing is not going to benefit you anymore. And nowadays, it's a different story. The idea that you present is really important, and the way you present it, not using complicated vocabulary, but on the contrary, using, let's say, the most appropriate collocations and words tactfully in the right place is going to improve your grade in IELTS. So this type of writing, I don't agree at all. This is really old-fashioned. No one is going to write in this way, and no one is going to mark if you write like this. So next session,
Yeah.
I'm going to let me help you. I'm going to give you a topic right now, guys, for the same topic that you are going to do it for the assignment for next session. Just write one introduction paragraph. Send it here
What?
on the chat box. Let's see.
Huh?
You know, this is your assignment for next session, right? You are going to write an essay, right?
Yes.
About personal freedom, about equal rights, the law, more surveillance, tolerance, and stuff like that. This is the topic. Just write an introduction about this topic. Any aspect you can choose it. Write it right now. Place it on the chat box. I need to see the way you write. Yeah, just 2 sentences, 1 paragraph.
One paragraph about freedom.
Yeah, 1 paragraph about freedom. Please write it. And I'm going to also give you a sample.